Wrestling fans know that wrestlers put their lives into their opponents' hands every time they step into the ring, relying on them to be professional and take the utmost care when executing moves which could injure or even kill them if performed incorrectly or with the intention to hurt. While this rarely happens, it can be devastating when it does. Join us now as WrestleLamia looks at 10 times wrestlers intentionally tried to hurt, injure, or even end their opponent for life. Number 1. New Jack tries to end Vic Grimes. New Jack has had enough instances of intentionally hurting opponents that we could do an entire video on them. While the former bounty hunter is best known for mauling rookie wrestler Mass Transit, be sure to check out our Behind the Titantron episode on that. This incident is downright heinous, as New Jack himself admitted to trying to kill opponent Vic Grimes in the ring. New Jack and Vic Grimes had scrapped previously when Grimes accidentally sent Jack head first from scaffolding onto a concrete floor during their match at ECW's 2000 Living Dangerously pay-per-view. New Jack was seriously injured and suffered brain damage as well as temporary blindness in one eye. Incredibly, promoters put both men back into the ring at Extreme Pro Wrestling. The two began feuding with things building up in a scaffolding match that saw New Jack throw Grimes off the top, sending him 40 feet down below. While multiple tables were set up to cushion the blow, Grimes only broke 2, suffering numerous injuries including a dislocated ankle. New Jack later claimed he was trying to end Grimes as payback for Grimes injuring Jack before. While there is now some doubt whether this was a work on Jack's part, it wouldn't surprise us if it was indeed a shoot. Number 2. AHMED Johnson clobbers Goldust over a kiss. Goldust's gimmick in the mid-90s was controversial, as the bizarre one lived up to his name in promos, insinuating he was in love with opponents and looking to have his way with them when he got them in the ring. On one occasion, Goldust was wrestling big man AHMED Johnson, and part of the match was supposed to see Goldust plant a kiss on AHMED. Johnson agreed to the unorthodox spot with the understanding that Goldust would place his hand surreptitiously over AHMED's mouth so as to keep both men's lips from touching. That didn't happen, allegedly enraging Johnson to the point where he rained blows down upon Goldust in retribution. Number 3. The Acolytes punished the Public Enemy. Rocco Rock and Johnny Grunge, aka the Public Enemy, became cult favourites after their table-smashing ways got him over big time in the ECW Bingo Hall circuit. The Public Enemy also worked in WCW, so fans weren't shocked to see them in the WWF. However, the WWF run was short, and most fans point to a match where the Acolytes, aka JBL and Farouk, destroyed them in the ring as part of their motivation for leaving the company. According to Bruce Pritchard, well, they had a finish for the match where the Acolytes were going to put Public Enemy through a table. Right before they went out to the ring, the Public Enemy were going out to the ring first, and they told Ron and John, "Hey, we're going to take out that table spot at the end," which was the finish. So they told him that, and they went out. So John turned around to Ron, and Ron was like, "What did he say?" And he says, "Take out the table spot at the end." So they don't want to do the table spot? I guess not. Well, we'll just bring the tables to them. And they made sure they got the table spot in. The end result was the Acolytes beating up Public Enemy for real, and surprisingly enough, they didn't last long in the WWF. Number 4. Perry Saturn mops the floor with Mike Bell. A botched move can lead to an injury, but sometimes it can lead to retaliation, as seen when enhancement wrestler Mike Bell worked a match with Perry Saturn. Bell reportedly botched the same move twice on Saturn, leading to Saturn landing hard on his head. An irate and semi-concussed Saturn proceeded to punch Bell for real, then he threw him out of the ring where Bell landed on his head and miraculously avoided serious injury. According to one account, Saturn returned to the dressing room where an equally angry Vince McMahon asked him, "What the f*** are you doing?" Wrestling legend has it that Saturn was given the moppy gimmick, a storyline where Saturn fell in love with a mop, as punishment for shooting on Bell. Number 5. Abdullah the Butcher infects opponents with Hep C. Fans who grew up watching wrestlers routinely cut themselves open to make their matches look more brutal need look no further than the story of Larry Sheave, better known as Abdullah the Butcher, to see why blading can be dangerous not only for the person being cut, but for anyone who steps in the ring with them. Abdullah the Butcher, aka the Madman from Sudan, played a bloodthirsty villain with a penchant for carving opponents' head open, often with his trusty fork. Any match involving the Butcher usually involved lots of blading, both by Abdullah and his opponent. The only problem was that sometime in his career, Abdullah caught the blood-borne disease hepatitis C, and not only continued wrestling, but continued cutting himself open, thus exposing opponents to the disease. According to a 2014 story at Deadspin, Canadian wrestler Devon Hannibal Nicholson won a $2.1 million negligence suit against Shreve in Ontario court, successfully arguing that he contracted hepatitis C during a 2007 match. During that match in Cochrane, Alberta, Shreve sliced them both open with the same blade. According to Nicholson, Shreve had not revealed he carried hepatitis C, which is usually treatable, but can lead to cirrhosis, liver cancer, and liver failure, and is highly contagious. Nicholson said that WWE offered him a contract in 2009, but rescinded after he tested positive for the disease. It's those loss of earnings that led him to sue Shreve, although it's certain that Shreve does not have that kind of money. If he did, he wouldn't be, as noted, still wrestling the indie circuit into his 70s. Nicholson was able to produce court records showing that he and Shreve carried the same rare strain of the disease, making it highly unlikely he picked it up somewhere else. Shreve's defense that it was Nicholson who gave it to him, and when he bladed, he was only following orders. Veteran grappler Cowboy Bob Orton Jr. also ran afoul of The Undertaker when Orton bled during a match, and The Undertaker learned Orton had hepatitis C since he was a teenager. Number 6. Beth Phoenix MAULS Michelle McCool. The Glamazon Beth Phoenix was a standout performer during a time when most female WWE stars were booked for looks rather than wrestling abilities. However, things took a very unprofessional turn when Phoenix wrestled Michelle McCool and delivered her finisher, the Glam Slam, to McCool, dropping Michelle on her head and concussing her. It was clear to McCool that Phoenix did not protect her, and in a 2012 interview, McCool commented on the move and Phoenix more or less admitted it was intentional. Come to find out, and it wasn't even that long ago, I remember getting the WWE magazine in the mail and flipping through the pages. Sure enough, she's doing an interview with the magazine talking about when she gave me the Glam Slam and saying how bad my head hit the mat, how she didn't unhook my arms and oops. I'm just like, wow. Years later, the truth comes out. She knew that she did that. It definitely sounded like she knew she did it at the time. I was just like, dang, what did I ever do to her? What was that? Was that my I didn't come in the ranks welcome to the rings match? What? I didn't care. I just blew it off. Beth's motivation is still unknown, but McCool is fortunate the move did not end her career. Number 7. Stevie Richards' chair shot from hell on JBL. Some cases of wrestlers intentionally hurting opponents are so well known we didn't discuss them, although we'll certainly follow up if enough people demand a sequel video. One such case involved JBL beating up the Blue Meanie at 2005's One Night Stand pay-per-view, where WWE superstars got into what was supposed to be a worked brawl with ECW wrestlers. Instead, JBL targeted the Blue Meanie, busting him open with real punches. The Meanie's friend Stevie Richards decided payback was due, so during a JBL vs Blue Meanie match on SmackDown, Richards ran in as planned to help the Meanie out. However, Richards took things to the extreme when he delivered an unprotected chair shot to JBL's skull, later admitting on WWE.com that it was in retaliation for JBL brutalizing the Meanie. Number 8. Sexy Star nearly removes Rosemary's arm. Not every intentional injury happens in the WWE, as seen during a 4-way match at the AAA Promotions TripleMania 25 event in 2017. During the match, wrestler Sexy Star locked in an armbar on her opponent Rosemary and dislocated it for real. Apparently Star had mistaken Rosemary for another wrestler who tried to legitimately hurt her. Whatever her reasoning, Star was stripped of her AAA championship and blacklisted from several promotions. In 2017, Rosemary addressed the attack via social media. She said, "Let me make this perfectly clear. If you take liberties with someone's body when they are giving it to you and trusting you to keep them safe, you are not tough. You are an asshole, and you don't belong in this business." Sexy Star decided to do just that this weekend at TripleMania, and while I have remained quiet on social media until I was more calm to address the situation, I've been informed that she is telling people it is a work. You are all now being informed Sexy Star is a liar. She was a liar in the locker room when she was forced to apologize and instead cooked up some excuse that she didn't know, and she is a liar now. You know if you're talking on someone's arm. You know an armbar is a real and dangerous hold. The only reason your face is not broken right now is because a little voice inside my head as I lay on the apron repeating, "Don't go to Mexican prison." Number 9. Akira Maeda attacks Andre the Giant. One of wrestling's most incredible shoots involves one of wrestling's most incredible athletes, the 8th wonder of the world, Andre the Giant. Andre was working a match in Japan against top star AKIRA MAEDA when things seemed to deteriorate in the ring. Some believe Andre was heavily intoxicated and barely able to work the match, leading to AKIRA getting frustrated and eventually enraged with the Giant's sloppiness. MAEDA, known for shooting on other opponents, began attacking Andre with vicious kicks, and at one point, Andre laid down and seemed to invite MAEDA to try and pin him. Only the intervention of promoter/wrestler Antonio Inoki kept things from escalating further, and fans still wonder how Andre would have fared had the attack continued. And number 10. Hardcore Holly's Rampage on RENE DUPREE. Like JBL and New Jack, Hardcore Holly's reputation for legitimately brutalizing opponents is well deserved. In one case, Holly decided to take out his frustrations on La Resistance member RENE DUPREE at a house show, pummeling DUPREE with legitimate punches, and that was just the beginning. According to a 27 November 2004 story, fans watched as DUPREE's eye began to swell shut as Holly smashed a steel chair into his skull with such force that it left a dent in the metal. DUPREE then made a run for the relative safety of the locker room, but several reports claimed the beating continued backstage. The story going around is that Holly was looking for payback. Apparently, DUPREE got a speeding ticket in Holly's rental car a few weeks ago, causing poor Bob Holly to have to deal with some complicated legal red tape. Although Holly thought he and DUPREE had smoothed things over, DUPREE reportedly called Holly out, so Hardcore approached him at a wrestling convention. The WWE superstar who once worked a gimmick as a race car driver turned wrestler Sparkplug Holly appeared on the two-man Power Trip of Wrestling show and recalled, "I said to him, 'You did say the next time you saw me that you were going to beat me up, and now I said I'm standing right here, so what are you going to do?' He didn't even look at me, and he just kind of had this smug look on his face and just filled his chest full of air and tried to bow up. Rene is a big boy and he's not small by any means, and I'm definitely not as big as I used to be because I'm not on the gas anymore and I don't need that stuff. I said there's nothing between you and I but air and opportunity, and I said I'm right here so you can beat me up or at least try," and he just turned and walked out of the room. That was pretty much the end of that, and that is the whole thing. I don't know why he's so bitter and upset at everybody, because I thought he was always a great talent, and I always thought he was a really good heel, and I enjoyed watching him and enjoyed working with him. And like I said, before I thought him and I had talked this whole thing out and got it in the past, and he's still harboring hard feelings. But there you have it, guys. 10 times wrestlers intentionally tried to hurt, injure, or even end their opponent for life. Do you think these wrestlers should have been banned from the squared circle for such acts? Be sure to leave your comments down below, subscribe if you haven't already, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and I'll see you next time for some more wrestling content.